This National Cancer for Research Month is not just symbolic, it's a call to action. At Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi, we answered this call very seriously. Thank you for joining us today at this podcast where we'll be discussing the significant strides made for cancer care and research in CCAD and in general in our region here. My name is Dr. Bassel Jallad. I'm a consultant medical oncologist at Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi, and I'm joined today by an esteemed colleague and a leader in the field, our Oncology Institute Chair, Dr. Stephen Grobmyer.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Grobmyer, I want to start my discussion. You've been a leader in cancer research and care in the whole Cleveland Clinic enterprise. You started in USA and then you joined CCAD 5 years ago. What do you think has been made so far in CCAD, and what do you think our future looks like?
Well, first of all, good afternoon, and thank you for highlighting such an important topic. We were asked to come in 2019 to build a cancer center like no other in the region, something that's very common in the United States and Europe, not so common here, but it's a concept of a cancer center, which is one place where patients can come and have all their needs met, because being diagnosed with cancer in many cases or most cases requires the assistance of a group of individuals who optimally function to provide the best care for patients. And it's a very stressful time for patients and their families, and by having a cancer center where you have groups of experts working together, we firmly believe this is the best environment for healing and providing patients with hope and the best outcome. Our mission here, when we started this project to bring the Fatima Bint Mubarak Center alive here, was not simply to be a community cancer center, but to develop a home, a leading home for the region for cancer care, to be a contributor to the world of advancing cancer treatments. That's what leading cancer centers do. And not only do cancer centers provide high-quality, safe care that's coordinated, patient-centered, they're leaders in innovation. And in cancer, it's critical that we continue to innovate. While we've made a lot of progress in cancer treatment, we still have some way to go. Some of our treatments still don't provide patients with the best outcomes, and we need to do better. And we're committed, our teams, you know this, we're committed to doing that. And that's done in oncology centers through therapeutic clinical trials. And we're committed to clinical trials, and I'm looking forward to our discussion today where we can dig into what clinical therapeutic trials are, how we do them safely, and what it means for patients as they seek care at centers like ours, and what it means for the future of cancer therapy in general.
I agree. As a medical oncologist, as a practicing medical oncologist here in Abu Dhabi, I see research is not as something abstract, but as something that directly impacts the patient in front of me. Clinical research is hope translated. At Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi, we're not just adopting global best practices, we're helping shape them. We're actively enrolling patients in global clinical trials like Cambria 2, as you know, giving them early access to promising therapy and contributing real-world data that helps refine care worldwide. Participation in research gives our patients more than treatment. It gives them empowerment. I believe that we are, now we're doing research like Cambria 2, we're bringing the global research to our regions, so then it reflects our ethnicities, our culture, our patient, how they would behave with such treatment. We're also bringing amazing, innovative therapies from across the globe. And most recently, we have acquired a new therapy called carbon ion therapy. How do you believe such innovative therapies will help bring our visibility to UAE and really, after all, help our patients?
That's a great question, and we're very excited about the future, and we're very blessed to have the commitment of a lot of stakeholders in this endeavor. And we're also blessed to have a great group of collaborators both here in the region and around the world, because the the fight against cancer is really a global one. It's not one that's limited to patients here or patients in the United States or patients in Europe. And we need to collaborate and learn together. And being at the edge of cancer research and clinical trials means having access to the newest and most promising technologies. And you highlighted one called heavy ion therapy, which we now made a commitment to bring here. And we're looking forward to a future where we can not only leverage what's known about heavy ion therapy, but engage in leading clinical trials, which, for instance, could combine heavy ion therapy with things like immunotherapy, which appear to be a very promising combination where the heavy ion therapy actually helps stimulate the immune system and makes the response of the patient to the tumor with their own immune system more effective than ever. So that's just one idea, but it's really about being recognized, being a place where some of the drug companies and cooperative groups want to come. And the other thing we're so grateful for is the infrastructure we have here and the team members we have. I'd like to ask you just to back up a little bit and sort of set the stage for some other things I'd like to talk about. If you could just reflect on what is a clinical trial and what it means for patients, because I think maybe there's a lot of misconception about that and why it's so important, not just here, but it's a hallmark of leading cancer centers in North America and Europe, and why it's critical for us and our patients to have access to those.
Thank you for the question. It's a very important awareness point. Clinical trials has multi-levels. Okay, it starts with a question made in a lab, and then once a product or like a molecule been created based on scientific meaning of it. They found maybe something in the cancer, a targeted mutation. We've explored that this is how it grows. This is how it behaves inside a certain body. Maybe after it fails first or second line of therapy, why it's failing. We've reached those answers and we created molecules and medicines to target this. Once we have created and we've been successful to see the safety of those drugs in lab or in animals, for instance, and then it reaches the human beings. And even when it reaches, it's a very strict protocols how it reaches us to use it on our patients. When we have started recruiting clinical trials in Cleveland Clinic, Abu Dhabi, we have explored many options. We've been asked to have our patients as part of the diversity. Okay, they wanted a diversity of populations to try those drugs to see if it will work in a different countries, different aspects, and we've accepted this call by our patient trying those potentially life-changing drugs. Then they are really a part of shaping the future. They're part of making sure that those drugs are there to be, part of our treatment in the upcoming months, upcoming years. But they are taking it at one step before that, and so they're helping us. They're helping themselves. They're helping our future generation to be a part of a potentially life-changing therapies.
Yeah, good. I would also emphasize that from my standpoint, the only way new drugs, which are needed in the world, are brought into the clinic are through clinical trials. Because we have a responsibility before we start to use drugs on a wide scale. We need to prove that they're efficacious in a very controlled way, and that's called a clinical trial. And without clinical trials, we wouldn't make any progress. And the other thing I think we're all committed to is the idea that we choose to open clinical trials where there's an unmet clinical need.
True.
So we have a standard therapy, maybe which is 80% effective. We're not satisfied with 80% effective. We want 95 or 100% effective.
Absolutely.
The way we get to 95 or 100% is through clinical trials, and that's why they're so important.
And those clinical trials are now not just answering the question, is it better or not, but can even patient feel better with it? Mm-hmm. Most of the newest clinical trials, including what we have here in Cambria 2, for instance, trial, which is exploring the option of a new innovative hormone therapy for patients with breast cancer who harbor a specific characteristic being driven by hormones. So this is the next generation hormone therapy, trying to tell us if it is more having a better efficacy than the standard of care that we have now in the market. At the same time, would the patient feel better? And this is a very important. We don't want just to create new technologies, okay, to say this works better, but you will feel more symptoms or you will suffer more. Also at the same time, we want you to feel better. So they ask the same questions, and those are two important outcomes that we study together. We want patient feel better and live longer.
And how do patients get involved in clinical trials typically? I mean, what is the process? The doctors identify them for trials, they self-select. So what does that process look like?
So either our patients or anybody wants to explore clinical trials, even from outside CCAD, can reach out to us and ask if they are could be eligible for those trials. We go through the patient history and the information available from their diagnosis, and then we will let them know that if they can be part of it. We have no exceptions to review all patients. It's not about just being a patient in Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi. The idea is that we're bringing those trials for our community here in UAE to benefit more from or to explore more options than what is available in the market.
Yeah, and I'd like to build on this. You mentioned it before, but the importance of conducting and enrolling patients in clinical trials here. Because one of the fundamental things we've learned over the years is that not all patients of different ethnicities respond the same.
Yes.
So we don't want to take drugs that have been tested in North America and just assume that they have the same effect on patients here or in other parts of the world. So I think it's safe to say that in large part clinical trials, patients in this region have been underrepresented in clinical trials.
Correct.
And as you mentioned before, I think that's really a call to action, and it highlights the need for us to do the work that's needed to prove that these drugs are actually helping the patients that we serve, highlighting another importance of the programs that we've developed.
I agree. And we are going to continue to explore those options. After our visibility, after showing the global community, global cancer community, that we are part of this mission, we will get more requests to include and to our patients into this mission to improve cancer care for now and for the future. So we're already submitting, and you've recently have been accepted to be for a grant, which means that they've trusted you with a budget to create more research even within Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi. Can you tell us more about that? To create our own research in Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi.
So as you mentioned, translational research drives the next question in cancer care. So the grant which we recently had funded is a collaborative one. We're using something called spatial transcriptomics. And it's a technique of doing genomic analysis on tumor samples. And the purpose of the research is to better understand the biology of the cancer in the patients that we're caring for. And ultimately, the goal is to identify new targets for therapy, because we're studying patients who've had perhaps a response to therapy, but not a complete response. And if we can understand what the hallmarks are of patients who don't respond completely, then we can begin to develop the next generation of therapies to treat those patients. And again, I'd highlight the importance of doing the work here in the patients that we serve here, because there's not automatically can be assumed that the biology of cancer of patients in this region is the same as in others. So we're grateful for the Department of Health for the support they've given us in conducting that work, and we're very optimistic about how it will help inform the next generation of clinical trials.
I agree.
So one of the things also we're very lucky to have here, and people may ask, why aren't clinical trials available everywhere? Because it actually takes a village, and it takes a commitment of an organization and a community to do this work. So could you talk about the team, the multidisciplinary team that we have here, and what's required from all of those team members to select and perform clinical trials on patients?
Yes, as it's maybe one drug to cure a disease, but it's an army of services and doctors to heal a patient. We do have a multidisciplinary care here in CCAD that is not just medical oncologists. There's surgeons, there's radiologists, there is plastic surgeon, radiation oncologists, even the ancillary services and the nurses. All of that is involved in this mission to improve cancer care and research.
And research infrastructure also is very unique here, and so talk about how that benefits the clinician's ability to actually bring these trials to life, because we couldn't do it without them.
Absolutely. And this is the next big step that we have included. Now we have also cancer research here in CCAD, and this helps to navigate our patients into during their mission to undergo the clinical trial. Once patient is considered eligible, let's say, to be on a trial, they will follow with them all through the path, starting from screening and then included in the trial, and then even follow up during the treatment to make sure that all their needs are accommodated. They also are part of ensuring that that drugs, because part of them are investigation drugs, they are not in the market. Make sure that they are brought in and they are never been missed with those medications. So they are a vital part of our growth here in Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi to shape the cancer or future of cancer care here. And I also want to go another step of how we are growing as a cancer researcher. I know we've also looking into having a basic lab in Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi, and we are in collaboration with different universities here in Abu Dhabi. Can you tell us how important this collaboration and what can be done by covering also not just the clinical part, but the basic part of cancer research?
Yeah, it gets back to your earlier question. Physicians who see patients and do translational research are a special breed. And they have extensive training in research and extensive training in clinical care. And it's that crossroad that makes these individuals unique. And we're in the process now of recruiting teams of people to come and work here. And they'll be utilizing local facilities to do the work that needs to be done. It will be another step in our efforts to really differentiate ourselves and be leaders in developing things like immunotherapy for the treatment of cancer and the prevention of cancer. And this is about building an ecosystem. The future is not built by one person or one group of individuals. It's like you mentioned before, it's an army. And we'll continue to recruit physician scientists like this. They're a hallmark of any great cancer center. And we're at the beginning, but we're very optimistic about the future because of the people that we're recruiting here.
I agree, and that's true. All of us, we've started with a passion to improve cancer, patient well-being, and tackle and fight this cancer and improve their care. I think Cleveland Clinic, and speaking really on UAE in general, that since I came here to UAE 5 years ago, I've seen significant changes and strive to improve, get the most experts in the field to bring all their expertise to the region and first learn from what they have done already in, let's say, in USA or in Europe, but also to take from this point and build our own cancer research empire. And this is how it it could help our patients, especially, with the diversity of populations that we have, younger patients acquiring cancer. We need to start from here and build our questions and explore what can be done further for our patients.
As someone who enrolls patients on clinical trials on a regular basis, you must encounter some patients who are reluctant. And so my question relates to what are some of the common misconceptions that patients have that we can dispel today about participation in a clinical trial?
One of the questions is they're thinking we are just trying randomly a drug on them with potentials of a lot of side effects that they could have avoided. Those trials, when they reach this level of being tried on our patients or humans, exploring it in human beings, they've already went through a lot of safety levels, and to reach the point of trying it on our patients means that they are relatively safe. We are not talking about safety anymore. We are talking how good and the magnitude of benefit from it compared to standard of care. And as I mentioned earlier, we are trying how good it is, and even it could be less symptoms from it, less problems day to day from it. Those two questions are being answered at the same time. Already going through different phases, we call phases of trials, phase 1, 2, and 3. We've established many of those points. But this is the last question we have. Is it as good or is it better than the standard of care we have? So bottom line, we are bringing most likely the next generation of treatments for the market, where the market, neither company, neither any department of health, nobody will allow a drug that not been proven better to be sold. So we're at the final question of, is it being as good or not, but it's safe.
Yeah. And in many cases, I would emphasize that new drugs are otherwise not available to patients. So things that we think are very promising, patients won't have access to unless they're part of a clinical trial, which is a scientific way to demonstrate the true efficacy and outcome. And the other thing I would emphasize is within every clinical trial, using our research infrastructure, which is very broad and deep, is that there are many safety checkpoints built into every clinical trial that we do. So patients on clinical trials actually probably get monitored more than patients who aren't on clinical trials. And when there's any signal of any complication, whether it's related to the trial or not, early intervention occurs. And we take safety very seriously, and it's a part of everything that we do. So I want to emphasize that point.
Of course. Yeah. And any symptom, any point reported by the patient are being delivered not just to the doctor, to the highest level of the research team globally, to see if there is any of that in common with other. There is a network of services connected when the patient reports a symptom. And with this system that is connected together globally, we will know if there is a trend of a side effect. So and that stops any trial if there is any concern for that. So as long as the trial is ongoing and we are monitoring our patients, we know that safety is priority. We just want to make sure that the patient explore more options than the standard of care that potentially is better and could be even with less symptoms out of it. But until it reaches the point that it's in the market, it takes so many years, but we're bringing it earlier to our patients to try. And most of those trials also are compared to standard of care. Some of them will, we're basically saying it's the standard of care is there. We're not just trying that drug, and we're comparing it with this. So it's an important question that you have raised, and we are taking safety very seriously, and we are continuing to follow with our patient. If not every 3 months, every month, the clinical team, our research team, is always available to answer these questions once patient is enrolled, to report anything that they would feel.
Great. We're running short on time, so I'd like to close. We're going to do a 1-1. So I get to
Okay,
ask
please.
you one question, then you get to ask me one
Okay,
question.
go for it.
And then my question is, what is your greatest hope for the future of clinical trials here in Abu Dhabi? And what would you like to see over the next 5 years in terms of where we are in clinical trials as someone who is actively involved in clinical research?
So this, again, I want to put this in the context that this is the National Cancer Research Month. Let's remember, research is a shared responsibility. Whether you're a patient, a provider, or a policymaker, ask how you can support research in our community. Let's make sure that the next breakthrough isn't delayed because we didn't ask the right question or enroll the right patient. Now, I want to ask you the same question. You've, again, been a leader in research in USA, and now you are part of the team here in UAE, and we are committed to reshaping cancer care future in UAE. Where do you think we're going to go from this point forward?
This is something that I'm very passionate about. We spent the last 5 years working with our partners at the Department of Health, M42, Cleveland Clinic globally, many other stakeholders here in town. We've built an unparalleled infrastructure that we're just on the verge of unlocking to make us a real powerhouse in clinical trials. And what I mean by that is, we're in an environment with an unprecedented national genome program where we have almost 800,000 patients who've had whole genome sequencing. We're just unleashing a program working with local stakeholders on somatic sequencing on scale. Somatic sequencing is actually sequencing tumors to understand the drivers of tumors so we can better select drugs and the next generation of therapy for patients. There's a national biobank coming on. We're working with the Department of Health, not in just clinical trials to treat cancer, but also genomically informed trials to prevent cancer. So the thing I'm most excited about is this combination of what's going on here at CCAD and Fatima Bint Mubarak Center and this incredible ecosystem that we've found ourselves in and been part of shaping. And I think we're in a very unique position in the world to look to the future and be real leaders in solving the global challenges related to cancer. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. And we all want to have an impact. And I'm so optimistic about everything that's going on here and the people we're recruiting. And look forward to the day where more of our patients benefit from the new treatments that we have. And there can be a lot less suffering and a lot more living for patients and families that we serve.
Very importantly, thank you again for joining me for this very fruitful discussion about cancer, present and future at Cleveland Clinic and in UAE in general.
Thank you.
Thank you.